Welcome to Blog Talk Radio in high fidelity.
Broadcasting from Cincinnati, you're listening to the Ringside Reporter podcast. All the news from the world of boxing right here.
Well, I'm talking to you the way I want to talk to you.
Now, here's your host, Eric Lorda.
And we are live. Welcome to the Ringside Reporter podcast, where we talk about the latest boxing news. If it's related to boxing, we'll talk about it here. My name is Eric Lorda, and I'm here with my co-host, Ringside Robert, and England's adopted son, Joe Habib. We have a great show for you today, and as always, you can catch us on the web at ringsidereporter.com. If you want to call and ask questions, you can call in right now at 323-870-3857. It will be here till about 9 o'clock tonight. Today, we're going to talk about Canelo Alvarez. Robert popped for using PEDs, buddy. We'll have the latest. Manny Pacquiao has a fight set for Lucas Matisse. Or does he? I don't know. We'll tell you about it. Bob certainly thinks no, so we'll see. We'll see what he says. The big guy saying no. Pacquiao says yes. Bob says no. We'll see. But first, we get started with the PBC on Showtime. Sergey Lipinets versus Mikey Garcia. This fight, I tell you what, man, this fight was definitely better than I expected. Lipinets was very competitive throughout the fight. I thought he was competitive throughout the fight. I had it even after the first 6 rounds, but Garcia seemed to take over in the second half. He floored Lipinets with a perfect counter left, man. That was sweet. In the 7th round, I had the fight scored 117-110. Official scores were 116-111, 117-110, and 117-110, all for Garcia. Garcia had talked about moving up to welterweight after the fight was over, but honestly, man, my opinion, I think 140 may be his cap. Lipinets gave him all he could handle over the course of the fight. And, I was talking to Beeb about this before the show. I don't, maybe hurting, Lipinets hurt Garcia, at times. I would say he got his attention. He didn't really, it not like he was wobble, but he definitely got his attention. He didn't want to get hit too many times like that. As the fight went on, I could only think about what he would look like with a guy like Spence in there, if Spence or something like that. Even Kell Brook at welterweight, when he was at welterweight. I mean, some of these guys, I think they're just, at this point, I think they're too big for him. Just my opinion. So, B, what were your thoughts on Garcia overall? And can he move up to welterweight?
I think he can move up to welterweight against the right guy. But Spence is not that right guy, and Terrence Crawford is not that right guy. Keith Thurman, I think, honestly, because of the styles, I think he'd have a shot against the Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman's really not. I don't think Keith Thurman is as big a puncher as advertised. Lipinets definitely did very well in the fight, did better than expected. I still thought, though, in a lot of those exchanges, Garcia was getting the better of him. I thought that Lipinets landed some good right hands. His jab was pretty good too. It was kind of a tricky jab because he keeps his hand down by his waist and it's like an up jab, so it's kind of hard to pick up on that. His hands seemed to be a lot quicker than I thought they would be. I thought that speed-wise, I thought Garcia was a little quicker, but I don't think that it was a huge disparity in speed. The big thing was Garcia is just such a proficient combination puncher and a fluent combination puncher, and he's dangerous when he's on the attack, but also he's dangerous on the back foot. And as a counterpuncher, he's an extremely skilled counterpuncher. So there was a lot for Lipinets to have to worry about in this fight. But Lipinets, I think, held his own. He made Garcia work for everything in this fight. It was definitely not as easy as I thought it would be. But, on the scorecards, I only did give Lipinets 3 rounds. Then you throw the knockdown in there. I had it 117-110, just as you. So it was definitely a clear-cut victory. But the scorecards did not show how hard Garcia really had to work for this victory. I mean, he had to fight Lipinets off him because Lipinets was game. He was coming at him. And it wasn't like Garcia could just sit back and lay in the cut and play the counterpuncher role, because Lipinets was really, really putting on a lot of pressure. And at some point, Garcia had to stand his ground, and he had to get his respect, and he had to fight Lipinets, which I thought he did very well. But going back to the 147 thing, Mikey Garcia is 5'7", not really a big bone guy. He's not a muscular guy. He probably could move up to 147, but I think a lot of these other guys who are like 5'9", 5'10", even Crawford 5'8", these guys who have really big frames that are probably walking around at about 165-ish, close to 170. I think on fight night, if he fights a guy like Spence, I think Spence would just overwhelm him. I think he'd just be too big and too strong. And if Spence hits you with some of those punches that Lipinets hit you with, I don't know if you're going to be able to withstand that and walk away from those punches. So all in all, I think Garcia put on a great performance. I think Lipinets put on a great performance. I think his stock goes up after this fight. I'm sure the phone's going to be ringing after this fight. He made a good account of himself. And Garcia picks up another world title and adds to his resume. And I think that just as Brian Custer said, and I think Mauro Ranallo said, I think he's really increasing his profile. I think he's enhancing his marketability. I like the fact that he's trying to stay active. He's trying to fight some meaningful fights. As I said, I believe that he would go down to 135 and go after Linares. He confirmed it yesterday that that's what he wants to do, and I think that's a great fight. And I think it would be great for him to unify the lightweight titles. He left a couple of fights on the table down there, and I'm glad that he's going to go back down there and clean it up. And then he says he's going to move up to 140 and try to unify those divisions. But I think that he could unify 135, and I think he has a shot to unify 140. I think it would definitely be a good move to go back down to 135 because he's not the biggest guy in the world, and I think he could unify those titles. And I'd like to see that. I'd love to see him fight Linares. I'd love to see him fight Lomachenko. I think those are two great fights. I think they would bring in a lot of interest and attention, and I think he'd make some good money in both those fights. So yeah, I'd definitely be interested to see him go back down in weight. And I'm a Mikey Garcia fan. I think he fought a great fight last night, and I think he's a great fighter.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think that the thing is, man, like I think his trainer last night, Robert Garcia, said that his best weight was 135, and his trainer knows him. I think that's pretty obvious. That's his best weight is 135. This was a little bit. He was pushing it this fight. You know what I mean? He was pushing it, and Lipinets. Lipinets only had 13 pro fights too. I mean, I'm sure he's had a bunch of amateur fights, but he's only had 13 pro fights compared to what Garcia's got. Yeah. And like you said, I mean, those scores don't indicate how difficult this fight was. This was a hard fought win. This was not easy by any stretch, man. But again, man, if he goes up, I can't picture him going up in weight. I know Reese Mack in the chat just he had mentioned Danny Garcia. I think that would be a decent fight, but I still got to give Danny Garcia the edge. Just a bigger guy. I think 140 is his cap. And I think 140 is kind of stretching it right now, just depending on where, who he fights at 140. I think the money was more at 135 anyway. Robert, what were your thoughts on Garcia? What are your thoughts on him going up to 147 as he maybe suggested?
Boy, have I got some thoughts on this. First of all, Mikey put on a great fight. Props to Sergey Lipinets because with his lack of professional experience, I didn't give him much of a chance. So props to him. He put on a better performance than I thought he would.
For sure.
I also scored at 117, 110. I thought Mikey was the clear winner, 9 rounds to 3. And I agree with his brother. 135 is his best weight. And I don't think you're going to see Linares next. I don't think you're going to see Lomachenko next. I think the next logical fight, without the politics getting in the way, is going to be him and Robert Easter. I think that's what you're going to see next. I think it's going to be a title unification fight. They're both on that side of the street. No political things to get in the way. I think that's going to be Mikey's next fight, him and Robert Easter. And I think Robert Easter is going to give him some issues just because of his size, being so tall.
Right, he's from
you know,
Ohio,
but
too.
I think that's the easiest fight to be made. I think the other fights at the 135 level have all kinds of complications and political things getting in the way. But I think that'll be Mikey's next fight. I think 147. I disagree with you, Beeb. I don't think he should do it. I think he's putting himself at risk. I think Mikey could get seriously hurt if he's put in there against the wrong kind of guy. I think he can fight at 135. I think he can fight at 140, but I would not dare put him at 147. I think he could get seriously hurt. That's my opinion.
I could legitimately see him beating Danny Garcia at 147. I really could, because I think Danny Garcia would have problems with Mikey on the outside a little bit, because Danny likes to kind of fight in the mid range a little bit, likes to get that hook off, and it takes him a little time to get his feet set. And I think that I could see Garcia being an effective counterpuncher against a slower footed Danny Garcia, because he'll be able to time him and see everything coming. As long as he can keep him on the outside, I think he'd have some success in that fight. I'm not saying it's a given that he would win that fight, but I think he has a shot, because we've seen guys like Mauricio Herrera outbox Danny Garcia from the outside, and I could see Mikey Garcia doing some of the same things that Herrera did. And Herrera is virtually a junior welterweight too, but he moved up to 147 against Garcia, I believe. Was that fight at 147 or 140? I could be mistaken. It may have been at 140.
That was at 140.
That was at 140. I stand corrected. But regardless of that, I think I could see Mikey Garcia doing some of the same things that Herrera did, because we've seen Garcia have problems with guys that can box him on the outside, and definitely I think that would be a winnable fight for Mikey Garcia, to be perfectly honest with you.
Well, in fairness, I mean, Mikey Garcia is a world-class fighter. He's going to give anybody who steps in there with problems. I mean, he just will. And he's going to give him problems for a few rounds. And, but if he goes up to welterweight, I think the power difference, is going to be, I think that's going to be he's just not as big. And I think just like Amir Khan gave Canelo problems for a few rounds, I think it all catches up to him in the mid to late rounds. So just kind of how I see it anyway.
No, it's
yeah. Well, we all remember what Canelo did to Khan. So.
That's terrible.
It's a total fair assessment, Eric. I can't argue with you there.
All right, so let's talk about the undercard here. Rances Barthelemy and Kiryl Relikh. Just an okay fight for me. Relikh was the busier, more aggressive all night, just kind of walked him down. Barthelemy couldn't seem to get started. Final scores here, 117, 110, and 118, 109 twice. I was kind of disappointed in Barthelemy in this fight. I thought he would do much better. But, I mean, hats off to Relikh, man. I mean, he's a pressure fighter. I mean, he pressured him all night long. And Barthelemy is not that, he's throwing volume. I mean, Relikh just threw volume all night. B, what were your thoughts on this?
Relikh, he removed all doubt in this fight. There was no way you couldn't give him a decision in this fight.
No way.
He was like the Energizer Bunny. He just constantly was throwing punches. It wasn't looking to have to, be too perfect with everything. Once again, similar to what, Luis Ortiz did last week, he wanted to make contact, and he just kept touching. Not everything has to be powerful. And because he kept touching, Barthelemy couldn't get set, couldn't get his offense going. And he just overwhelmed him. He just outworked him. He was like the Energizer Bunny. It was just a really, really great performance from him. And it was better than I anticipated. I kind of was leaning towards him to win the fight. I didn't expect him to dominate like that. I thought that Barthelemy would try to take a little bit more chances, because the guy is sitting there throwing everything but the kitchen sink at you, and you're going to have to make a decision. Am I going to just sit there and be on the defensive all night, or am I going to take a chance and try to push him back? Because you had to do something to stop that forward momentum. And Barthelemy just couldn't do it. He couldn't catch him on the counters because you got to give credit to Relikh. Relikh was really ripping that body. He was ripping that body. He was throwing a really good jab. It was a jab that was really hard to gauge, because He would move around. He was moving it around a little bit, jabbing to the chest, jabbing to the head, going downstairs with it. That was a really educated left hand that Relikh was throwing last night, and he just worked his way in there, and he was relentless. He was walking Barthelemy down, and Barthelemy was just he was getting overwhelmed. He was just getting overwhelmed all night, and then he did some good work later in the fight as he tried to kind of gamble a little bit. He started moving his hands a little bit. I thought he had some success with some overhand rights, but at the end of the day, once he started seeing it was slipping away after 3 or 4 rounds, he needed to really do something different and try to put his foot on the gas pedal a little bit and pick and choose his spots a little bit and say, you know what, I'm going to have to fight this guy. I'm not going to be able to outbox him. He's applying too much pressure, and I'm just not able to keep him off me. So I'm going to have to kind of make this fight a little bit ugly, make it gritty, maybe grab him a little bit, walk him back, try to reposition him, create my punching angles that way. This isn't going to be a pretty fight, he had to say to himself. He had to turn this into a dog fight with him. You know what I'm saying? He had to do something, and he wasn't able to do it. He had no plan B, and he's just overwhelmed. I think I gave Barthelemy maybe 1 or 2 rounds in this fight. That's it.
So, yeah, it was. He got killed in this fight.
This was a really one-sided fight.
And you got to think, well, like, where does he go from here? I mean, after you're put on blast like that, I mean, really, where do you go? I mean, because you were dominated in this fight. Yeah. So, Robert, any thoughts on this fight?
I scored it a shutout, 120-107. This one wasn't even close, and I thought he won the first time around.
Yeah.
I still don't know what those judges saw the first time around that had the scorecard so wide the other way. He was a clear victor. I didn't give Barthelemy a round. He just he's got to find something else to do because he just flat out.
Robert's ruthless.
Oh,
boy.
sorry, Beeb. Go ahead.
I was less laughing. I was like, every time someone loses, they gotta hang him up, man.
We're gonna change his name from Ringside Robert to Ruthless Robert.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, well, hey, you want me to sugarcoat it? I mean,
no, let it all hang out. Let it all hang out.
Love it, man.
It's almost like he had no business being there. I mean, at least the first time around, he did a little bit better for himself, but not as good as those 3 judges saw it the first time around. Congratulations to the sanctioning body for making this an immediate rematch, and this time we got the right result.
I'm glad they ran this back.
And I hope he gets some decent fights out of it.
Yeah, there was no debating who won this fight, man. That's for sure. All right, the Top Rank on ESPN, Oscar Valdez and Scott Quigg. Top Rank had a card, and I just watched the main event because, quite honestly, I had no interest in anything else on there. Scott Quigg came in almost 3 pounds overweight in this fight. No real excuse was given. Now, Beeb had said that he injured his leg. Quigg stated that his body just seemed to be frozen. I don't know what the deal was, but the fight went on as planned, and Oscar Valdez won a unanimous decision by the scores of 117-111 twice and 118-110. I thought the fight was a lot closer than the scores indicated. Scott Quigg suffered a broken nose. Yeah, Scott Quigg suffered a broken nose during the fight, and Valdez fought with a broken jaw. This was a great fight, man. I would love to see this again.
I really would. I really would.
The fact that Quigg couldn't, but the thing for me is if the fact that Quigg couldn't make weight, it may be time for him to move up, man. It's because he came in 3 pounds over. He's a big guy, for that division anyway. Yeah, that's a rough one. That's a tough pill to swallow, man. But Valdez looked good. I think he was hurt in the 5th round by Quigg. Quigg hurt him in the 5th round. But it was just back and forth, man. And I tell you what, Valdez and those left hands, man, that left hand to the body is just vicious.
Yeah.
Robert, what were your thoughts on this fight? What were your thoughts on him coming in overweight?
First of all, congratulations to Valdez. But Scott, I am so disappointed in Scott Quigg because, going into this fight, I thought he had a legitimate chance to take this title. But now Eddie Hearn said he fought with a broken foot. that was his comment after the
He
fight.
didn't fight with no
Number
broken
one,
foot.
I don't know how you could stand on a broken foot for 36 minutes, but okay. I don't know if I buy that.
No, you're crazy.
But this was a hell of a fight. You know, I would almost put this in the Fighter of the Year candidate, but I don't know if I can do that because one of the guys showed up 3 pounds overweight at the weigh-in and then weighed 142 pounds at the night of the fight. Considering those circumstances, it was a hell of a fight. But damn, why can't fighters live up to their contracts and come in at the prescribed weight? If you can't make it and you know you're not going to be able to make it, do the classy thing and notify people ahead of time so they can find somebody else that deserves the title shot. This really pissed me off. I enjoyed the fight. I'm glad the right guy won. I love Valdez. You know, Valdez gets overlooked because, you know, everybody knows about Carl Frampton. They know about Leo Santa Cruz. They know about Abner Morris. They know about Lee Selby. And they know about other people in this division. But Valdez is kind of the overlooked champion, and he put on a hell of a fight considering he was fighting somebody that was 2 weight classes above him last night.
Yeah, you know, maybe. I mean, maybe 2 weight classes above him, and I know what the scale said the night of. But again, I mean, you weigh in. I mean, they kind of cause this drama. I mean, because anybody can weigh what they weigh on the night of the fight. You know what I mean? There is no 10% rule. There is no whatever. You know, so saying that he was in there against a welterweight or whatever it is they were saying, you know, it doesn't really hold much with me because it's within the rules. So, you know, you guys decided to fight. It's within the rules. And if they both weighed the same and he came in that heavy anyway, nobody would have said anything about it.
And it's not like the IBF that has that's
right.
It's not like the IBF that has that second day weigh-in.
If they want to stop this, if they want to stop this, either go to the second day weigh-in, which I think is stupid, or go to same day weigh-ins. But you know, they go to same day weigh-ins. They risk the chance of him coming in 3 pounds over or 5 pounds over, and then the fight's off. You know, that's what you risk. Right. And the only time I've ever saw that in a big fight was, or any time recently in a big fight, because didn't I think Michael Spinks didn't Michael Spink and Matthew Saad Muhammad, weren't they going to rematch or something like that? And then he came in overweight, or he came in, I don't know what the deal was, and the fight was off or something. But I know with Corrales,
I can't remember that.
Corrales Castillo, the guy came in overweight, and he said, "No, I'm not fighting him." He just said, "No, we're not fighting." And they canceled the card and everything.
Well, and Oscar Valdez's manager and people tried to convince him not to go ahead with the fight, and he said no. This is on national TV. People bought tickets. I'm not gonna not fight. I'm gonna go in there and give the fans a show because it was pouring down rain last night. They fought in the rain, and for people to sit outside, he wasn't going to cancel this fight.
Yeah, I tell you what, you know, it was a good fight if they all sat outside, and I mean, it looked like they were staying. You know, they were out in the rain watching this, man. So you know, it was a solid fight because if it was boring, man, they would have been leaving. I tell you what, man, it was a solid fight, man. I wouldn't.
Oh, this was a great fight.
Again, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think Quigg's going to have to move up. I just do. I don't know. Beeb, let me ask you, why is this seeming to happen so much? Fighters coming in overweight. Why is this happening so much?
Well, because in my opinion, this weighing in the day before the fight gives them a false sense of security because they say to themselves, they're already fighting in a weight class they're too big for. And the only reason why they stay in that weight class is because they're saying to themselves, I have 36 hours to rehydrate up and fight at the weight that I want to weigh in the night of the fight. But the thing is, there's only so long that your body is going to allow you to do that. Your body is fighting you. You know, if you're forcing your body to do something that's unnatural, and you're forcing yourself to come down to a weight that you really shouldn't be weighing at all, Scott Quigg probably walks around at 150 pounds. And I asked him to fight at 126 because if he weighs in at 142 the night of the fight, his walk-around weight is probably 7 to 8 pounds heavier than that.
Yep.
So he's 150 fighting at 126. So they're saying to themselves, you know what, I'll get down to 126, and then I got that 36 hours to rehydrate or whatever. But if you looked at Scott Quigg's body, he looked really puffy. He looked really flat. He looked bloated. And the thing is a lot of these guys, they try to rehydrate, and they're not doing it the right way. You should be doing it a lot with liquids. They're gorging themselves, and they're eating tons of food, and they're probably not eating the right foods, and they're getting that distended stomach, that bloated look, and they're not doing it properly. They don't have the knowledge to do it properly, and when you try to jam all those calories in such a short period of time, and then your body is dehydrated the day before. It's so hard. It takes like 48 hours to 72 hours to properly replenish all those electrolytes and stuff you lose. And even if they do rehydrate, again, it's not a quality weight for these guys. It's just bulk. It's just excess water, and it makes you sluggish. It's a double-edged sword because you can say the guy's bigger, he's more durable, he's going to be heavier handed because he's got more leverage on his punches because he's so much heavier than the other guy. But then again, he's going to be sluggish. He's going to be slower. He's not going to have the stamina that he would have if he was lighter. He's going to have to carry that extra weight for the 12 rounds. So it's not really a good advantage because it puts these guys in a situation where they're fighting in artificial weight classes. Really, these guys are not the weights that they're fighting in. They're really not. If you're walking around at 20 pounds heavier than your natural weight class, then you shouldn't be fighting that weight class. And that's why I'm a firm believer in going back to same-day weigh-ins because that would give us a more accurate description of where these fighters and what weight classes they should be fighting in. But with that all being said, Scott Quigg, I mean, he's a guy who's dedicated to the sport. I think Eddie Hearn said there was some type of leg injury or a foot injury. And again, he weighed 128 and a half, I believe. And usually on fight week, for a lot of fighters, it's that those last 4 to 5 to 6 days is where those 2 to 3 pounds of stubborn weight you have to come off. So usually the final week of camp is used to sweat off those last 2 to 3 pounds by doing some cardio, a week before the fight up until like maybe the Thursday before the weigh-in. These guys are going to be doing cardio. They're going to be doing like low intensity, slow, steady, long duration cardio just to sweat off those last 2 or 3 pounds. So if he was not able to do that and he had a leg injury or a foot injury, then, I mean, it's plausible that that's why he did not make weight. Is it acceptable? No, because you signed a contract and you didn't fulfill your contract. That's your problem. And you have to be punished for that or reprimanded or chastised. And I can understand people being mad about that. But do I think he intentionally said that I'm not going to come in and I'm not going to even try to make 126? I don't believe that. I don't believe that's in his character. I think this guy has a solid work ethic. I think he's an upstanding person, upstanding human being. I don't know him personally, but the way he's carried himself thus far in his career, from what I've seen of him, I don't think it's in his character to just say, I don't give a fuck and I'm going to blow the weight. I just don't think that. And as disappointed as I am at him for not making the weight, I'm not going to say I'm going to give him a passport, but I'm not going to condemn the guy. I'm not going to sit there and say that, attack his character, in other words, like a lot of people are doing. I think his character is being attacked. I think he's being framed as a irresponsible human being and someone that didn't take this fight serious. I don't believe any of that. I think he did take the fight serious. I think this was a huge opportunity for him. And for him to fight for this title and get that belt, it would have opened the doors to a Cal Frampton rematch, to a unification fight with Leo Santa Cruz. So it wasn't in his best interest. It made no sense for him to go into this fight just saying, I don't care. I think this just unfortunate circumstances leading up to this fight, and I just think it is what it is.
But that being said, wouldn't it be beneficial for him to move up in weight? I mean, because he missed this
probably
by
now, yeah, probably now. See,
if I'm his promoter, and if I'm his promoter, man, I tell you what, yeah, because this, I would think that this hit his purse. I would think they would have penalized him somehow monetarily. But, title wasn't on the line.
They did.
But
he paid the penalty, right?
3 pounds. I mean, that's not, I mean, for a title fight, you got to be spot on. You can't be a pound over like normal, but you're 3 pounds over, son. Just about 3 pounds. That's a big deal. So
he's a big guy.
I mean, if I was Hearn, this guy would be moving up, man.
He's a big guy. He's 5'8".
Yeah.
He's got a big back. He's got big legs. He is not a
big
small
division. Big for that.
He's big for that division. I think 130 would be perfect for him.
Right. All right. Let's talk about the Showbox card, and then we're going to go to the big elephant in the room here. Regis Prograis versus Julius Indongo. I tell you what, this is really impressive performance by Regis Prograis as he knocked out Indongo, the former TBE. Robert, former TBE, yes?
Yeah, he was. Well, he's a former boxer now because his career is over.
And I tell you what, he was completely dominated in this fight. And Indongo really surprised me in this fight with how bad he looked. He looked real jumpy, and he just got hammered. I mean, he looked bad from the get-go. He looked like almost like an amateur out there. I mean, it was, Prograis knocked him down in the first round, then finished him in the second after knocking him down 3 times. I agree with Robert, man. Ruthless Robert says it's the end, and I'll tell you what, I agree with him. I think that may be it for Indongo. Not much there, man.
But I tell you what, Eric, I'm very impressed with Mr. Prograis. Boy, is he going to be a dangerous person at 140 pounds.
Well, we knew, we knew going in.
He's going to be dangerous.
How about him and Mikey Garcia? How about that?
Oh, my God. I'd love to see it.
That's a fight. Beeb, what were your thoughts on former TBE Julius Indongo?
I think we've found Julius Indongo's Achilles heel, and that's the midsection. That's the body.
Yeah.
Because once again, Prograis went right downstairs, and it really had a serious debilitating effect on Indongo, because the minute he touched him there, every time he touched him there, he hurt him, and he crumpled him over a lot of times, and he couldn't recover. And for whatever reason, Indongo is a tall, lanky guy, but there's always this loop to his punches. He doesn't throw the straight punches. He doesn't use his height and his reach. He's not a good outside fighter. He's a guy that likes to kind of mix it up inside. And he doesn't really have the physical dimensions or the gifts in general. He's not really a good inside fighter, because if you're inside like that and you got these long, lanky arms, and you're throwing these looping shots, guys are going to punch inside your combinations, and that's what's happening. And you're in there, and a guy like Ricky Burns who's kind of lost a step and maybe can't keep up with you. He may not be able to capitalize on that. But some of these young bucks like Prograis and Crawford, they're going to eat you up on the inside. That's not his game. He should have learned to develop an outside game, because with his height and reach, he could have been a problem for a lot of these smaller junior welterweights. But he never really capitalized on his physical attributes, and he's decided to have a style that really doesn't suit his body structure. And he's not really a big, strong guy either. He's not a hard puncher. Throws a lot of arm punches, a lot of ringing, slapping type punches. And I think that it's maybe too late for him to change things up at this point in his career. Yeah, and I'm not so sure he's going to be successful at the top level at junior welterweight. I really, I think he's going to have problems with a lot of the top guys at 140. I think Garcia would beat him too. Lipinets, I think, would beat him. So I don't know. It's going to be a tough road ahead for him, and he may just be one of those guys that is kind of a gatekeeper. And I hate to say that because he's a young guy, but I just don't see him beating any of the top guys at 140. I don't.
Yeah, I don't know.
And Indongo was a substitute because Prograis' original opponent was supposed to be Victor Postol.
Yeah, that would.
Can you imagine what he would have done to Postol?
That's a good fight. I mean, I think they were both good fights. I mean, I think that Prograis is just a good fighter. I think he dismantles both. So
on paper, they were both good fights, Robbie. They were both good fights. I mean, I don't think anyone expected Indongo.
No, I agree. I agree.
Sure. I don't think anyone expected Indongo to go down in 2 rounds.
When they get in the ring, man.
Yeah, it's completely different. All right, we're going to skip the upcoming fights. We're going to get to the phones here in just a minute. But first, Beeb, it's time.
Yes, it is.
I'm going to have to do it this week because she has a stomach virus and she's sick. So I apologize. I'm the substitute. And I'm sick too, but I'm going to try and do it, guys. I'm going to try and do it. The Lebanese Prince train is coming through. Checka. That was a little better.
Jesus, that was terrible. I'd rather listen to cats being murdered. That was horrible, Beeb. I mean, really. I mean, you couldn't even.
Well, Eric, we need to record her for when she's not available.
We do. We need to get her on tape because that was just.
We gotta do a sound bite. I gotta have her do a sound bite. I'm gonna have it copyrighted so no one can use it.
That was just terrible, Beeb. I don't even want to go on with the rest of the show after hearing that, Robert. All right, train wreck of the week.
You want to announce this?
Train wreck
Go ahead, Eric.
of the week. Robert, the train wreck of the week.
Around in Mexico.
Canelo tests positive for clenbuterol as part of the voluntary testing program that Canelo Alvarez insisted on ahead of his May 5th fight. One of his results came back positive for trace levels of clenbuterol. Consistent?
Actually, well, it was Eric. 2 results came back positive.
Wow, look at that. Consistent with meat contamination that has impacted dozens of athletes in Mexico over the last few years. The WADA accredited lab conducted the test, stated in the letter today, these values are all within the range of what is expected from meat contamination. Really? So I don't dispute that they're all in the range. I don't dispute that at all. I just, you got to think about it. Like,
he's got the dirty pee-pee.
This has happened over and over again with them. And it's an easy thing to just say, hey, it was the meat. I ate a hamburger or I ate some steak. And that was what's causing this. Clenbuterol stays in your system, incidentally, for 4 to 6 days. Beeb, you said that the half-life is 24 to 36 hours?
Yeah.
So it goes out pretty quick. It's not like it's going to stay in your system. You know what? I think somebody, I can't remember who said this, but I heard it said that they ought to take a hair follicle. Take a hair follicle test.
Victor Conti said it.
And let's figure out.
And Gabe Montoya also has said that.
Gabe Montoya said it, yeah.
All right, let's figure out, okay, if it was part of meat, that's great. Is there anything else in your system? How long has this been in there? How long is, because it's too convenient to be Mexican and say, oh, it was the meat. It was the meat. I ate a steak. I'm going to put it on the line here, man. He cheated. I know he cheated. Everybody knows he cheated. What's the purpose of having a drug test? What is the purpose of having a drug test if there is no punishment? None. Well, it was the meat. Who was the guy? Was it oh man, I can't even remember. There's been so many of them. And they said, I remember HBO.
Well,
it was the one on HBO.
You had Eric Morales before he fought Danny
Francisco Vargas.
That was him, Francisco Vargas.
You had
Lucas Brown.
HBO. Right.
Toledo.
And HBO. HBO. I remember Kellerman came on and said, well, I'm glad common sense has won out because it was clearly a meat thing. No, it wasn't. You don't know it was a meat thing. You don't. You know that there was trace levels found. Great. And that's consistent with meat. Great. It doesn't mean he didn't take it. That's not what it means. It's too convenient of an excuse. The NFL put out a thing. They put out a press release to all their players saying if you eat meat from China or you eat meat from Mexico, you could test positive. And you know what happens when you test positive in the NFL? You're suspended. They don't go through all this, this whole thing about tainted supplements and all this nonsense. You get suspended.
That's why Eric, last year when the Raiders and Patriots played in Mexico, they, as part of their trip, both teams packed their own food for as many days as they were going to be there. They didn't even bother with buying any food while they were there. They brought it all with them.
Yeah. It's
not only that, the problem here lies, and again, I've said this many times, I'm not the PED police. I don't have a moral stand one way or the other on drugs. Problem is other athletes have tested in the same range and they've been suspended for the same thing. Lucas Brown had trace amounts too. He was suspended. So this whole thing about trace amounts, how do they determine, what trace amounts are? Because, it's been said that this drug stays in the system for 4 to 6 days. I've heard it, as mentioned before, that it stays in there for 2 or 3 days. Depends on the dose you're taking, number one, and it depends on how your body processes it. Because if you have a high tolerance to stimulants, number one, and number two, if you're exercising and you're burning through the stimulant faster, really fast, you're doing a lot of exercise, and you're just burning out, the stimulant out of your system. That has a big factor in determining how long it stays in the system too. So that's being really generous by saying four to 6 days, because in most cases it's out in 2 to 3 days with the world-class athlete who's taking the proper dosage. So the thing is with this drug is because it's a stimulant and it's out of your system so quickly, then who's to say they're not going to roll the dice with it? And it's the perfect drug for a boxer to take. It helps, which is with stamina, helps you with if you're moving up in weight and you want to make sure that you're putting on lean mass and not any excess fat. This would help you with that. All the things that would really benefit Canelo, all the things that Canelo really needs moving up to 160. He's the guy that's saying, oh, in the rematch, I got to throw more punches. I got to work on my stamina. This is the perfect drug that would help you do that. So, to sit there and say trace amounts. So, the body does not naturally produce clenbuterol. So if you go to work and you're being drug tested at work and you have trace amounts of cocaine in your system, you have trace amounts of heroin in your system, are you going to get off on that? You know what I mean? This whole thing with trace amounts, okay? If your body doesn't naturally produce the substance and it's in your system, then there's a red flag. Now, the problem is they say contaminated meat. And Victor Conte made a great point. Okay, so what happened with the soccer team was when the Mexican soccer team, they all tested positive. They went and they researched where they ate, the restaurant they ate, the meat they ate, and they tested the meat, and they found that. So now they're going to do that extensive research and investigation on Canelo. These guys can just say, hey, it's the meat, but they don't have to come up with any evidence. Oh, it's the supplement, but they don't have to come up with the bottle and the bottle and the lot number information that was on the bottle. So then people can go back and say, well, okay, let's take all these supplements off the shelf if they're tainted. Now we know that this is the place where the meat is tainted. So now we'll make sure no one eats there. So, this is a guy that makes $3 to $5 million a fight. You mean to tell me he doesn't have a personal chef that's buying top quality organic meat for him? So he's buying meat at the local Taco Bell. He's eating hot dogs at the local hot dog stand. This is a guy that's trained his whole life in Mexico, lived his whole life in Mexico, fought 41 fights, and for a great portion of each training camp of those fights, he trained in Mexico. And I'm sure he ate in Mexico too. So all of a sudden, after 41 fights, this guy's going to test positive. It's just so convenient that this guy fought the fight of his life in the first fight with Golovkin and walked away saying, you know what, I got to do more in the rematch. I got to throw more punches. I got to be more active. So I got to work on my stamina. I got to, fight a more aggressive fight. And, the whole fight rounds 1 through 12. So it's just too convenient right now. It's just too easy for these guys to just say it's the meat and not have to provide evidence, not have to come up, not be, not say where I ate beef on Friday. I know what I ate. I ate John Soul's beef fajita meat. So if I tested positive next week for freaking or Friday or Thursday for clenbuterol, I can go back and say it was this. This is the bag I bought it out of. Here's here's the the SKU number or whatever, and then I could provide evidence. So why wouldn't these guys have to provide evidence? That's what I don't understand. Like, they could just say it and it's accepted, and then certain people, all the Mexican boxes it's accepted, but all the other boxes it's not accepted.
Right. If Triple G tested positive for this, it would be outrage. You know what I mean? It would be outrage. It doesn't make any sense because he ate meat. Come on.
And then Povetkin had trace amounts of meldonium in his system, okay? And everyone was just condemning him, okay? And these same people that were condemning him, they're giving Canelo a pass. So this is the thing. Like, again,
I'm not.
It's just I don't care if people. I'm not even a guy that's a big advocate against the performance enhancing drugs. But my thing is this: it's consistency. If you're going to have rules in place, then enforce them fairly to everybody and be consistent with the enforcement of the rules. Don't pick and choose who can do what and where and when. And certain fighters can get a pass and certain fighters can't. Especially when other people had lower amounts of this. Wait, Robbie. Other people had lower amounts of this same substance in their system, and they were suspended for less than what he had in his system. It's not fair. It's a red flag. It shows a bias from an organization, the WBC, which is based in Mexico, who consistently gives Mexican fighters a pass. But Lucas Brown didn't get a pass. I know that was a WBA fight, but regardless, it still shows a bias against a certain demographic of fighters, and it's not fair.
No, and it's always, this whole program is stupid because you let fighters fight after they test positive. What's the point in that? What's the point of having the program? What is the point of having the program? And listen, they all know the risk of eating steak or hamburger or whatever they're going to eat in Mexico, and they still go ahead and do it. I don't have any sympathy for you.
No.
You know the rules. You know that, you know them. You know the rules. Nobody else gets his pass, but you guys get it? Come on. That's ridiculous.
By all rights, the fight should be called off, but they're not going to do that. There's too much money involved. And like Triple G said at the news conference the other day, he said, I've taken several tests. I passed my test. What kind of punishment is there going to be for him failing? And basically, there is not going to be one. There's not going to be no financial penalty. He's not going to be punished for this. The fight's going to go on as scheduled, and they're going to act like nothing has ever happened.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Let's go ahead and go to the phones here. 937 Wood. You're live. 937.
Mom, I thought that was Wood.
I thought
Hello.
So too. Maybe not. Maybe he doesn't want to be live.
Okay.
All right. We'll go to the next guy who wants to be live. All right. 508. 508. You are live.
From this day, you'll be my new fool.
Hey, what's happening, people?
What's up, Georgie?
Hey, Georgie.
Listen, brother, I want to talk to the fraud department. Can somebody connect me to the fraud department? That I clean. Canelo. There to be born, my friend. There to be born.
Well, he did.
Can we say, man?
You think he cheated?
No, but this is the question. Listen, this is the question. We got to come on, we got to be honest with ourselves as fans. And are we willing to kill this star? Is the fight going on? Is the fight still on?
Yes.
Yeah, it will be. They don't have the guts to cancel it, Georgia. There's too much damn money involved.
Okay, so we say that the fight is too big to fail, and the fight must go on. So you guys are gonna watch it. I'm gonna watch it. You guys are gonna watch it,
Of course we're going to watch it.
Yeah.
I'm a loser. Of course I'm going to watch it. What else am I going to do on a Saturday night?
This is like the moral ground right here. That what we going to do?
We're all degenerates.
So you really saying you against drugs and you want to kill and this and that? You really should not watch it.
Well, Georgie, I'm a well-known
but
hypocrite.
They never realize that I'm gonna watch it anyways. So what the hell I'm complaining? You know, so you see the hypocrisy there.
Yeah, no, I see where you're going,
Georgie. This is a credibility thing, though, Georgie.
You know,
this is a credibility thing. This isn't a morality thing. This is the thing. If you're going to enforce rules, everyone has to follow them. You can't pick and choose. This shows favoritism,
right?
And it's not right because other guys got suspended for less.
Like, hold on, B. Hold on, baby boy, because this is what I'm trying to get through. Like, this is something in the sport we're going to have to live with. Because we can go back to the years when fucking Manny was coming out from 130 to doing his wrong on 147. You're going to tell me he wasn't juiced up? And when they come out with the fucking ID for Mayweather 24 hours before the fight and bullshit, he wasn't juiced up? And many shit out there. Didn't Wilder just for somebody who was juiced up to fucking times? Hello?
Yes.
Yeah, we're listening to you, Georgie. You're making good points. That's why we're not saying
That's what
anything.
I'm saying. So, I mean, we go over and over the hamster wheel. Once again, I don't want to get in this fucking hamster wheel. So we're going to have to be sincere. What the fuck is going on in this sport? And nothing is getting done regardless.
Because nobody cares.
But we two as the fan going to go and buy the fight. So we got weight on it too. So we can not only demonize. I love to demonize these fucking mafias and the whole nine. But what we doing as a collective, what we're going to do, watch the fight and protest at the same time? That shit can't, I don't know, man. I just don't even feel it like that. I'm kind of confused.
Georgie's right. I mean, we are
really
hypocrites,
confused.
no question.
Yep. No, we are.
I'm comfortable with that.
We're addicted. We're addicted to our drug called boxing, but at least we don't test positive for it.
But no matter what happened here, this is a really black eye for Canelo. No matter what happened, you know what I'm saying? Because people love to go after the fallen one.
Yeah, and you know what happens?
Wood real quick out of that falling tree, you know. So,
you know what's gonna happen? If he goes and wins the fight, they're gonna say, "Well, he cheated. That's how come he won," and there'll be a third fight out of this.
But it's always something with this guy, the judges.
Yep.
The hand wraps. Now it's this. It's like,
Of course, with him being in Las Vegas, who knows what kind of judges he's going to get. Look at Nevada's history.
those scorecards with Lara, the 114 card with Mayweather. Austin Trout.
118, 110. Thank you, Adelaide Bird.
You know, then in the Austin Trout fight, like Austin Trout only won 2 rounds in that fight. Cut the crap. I mean, it's just getting sick. It's getting sickening with all the preferential treatment this guy gets. It's just too much. It's too much.
Oh my God, I can't puke anymore. You seen that fucking the scorecard for Ortiz? That was crazy too. So look, if you start fucking picking fights that the scorecard were fucked up, we're gonna be here forever. Boxing, the good thing is there's so many divisions. And we fuck with some division, then we get some great fights. You know, like Valdez in the Scott Quigg, that was a great fight. And we had
phenomenal fight.
Mikey fight, Mikey going. If DSG can grab a belt, we got to fight at 147. That will be tremendous. That could be pay-per-view right there. What you guys think? But DSG get a belt.
No, I don't think Mikey should go to 147. I really don't.
Mikey's not going. Yeah.
Not against everybody. Nah. But against DSG, I think he can take him out.
That's a good fight. I mean, I think that's I still think that I would favor DSG in that fight, man.
You picking DSG?
Yeah. Too big.
What do you think? What do you think Sean Porter would do to him, man? No,
yeah. Could you imagine Sean Porter in there? Right.
No, not Sean Porter. No, that's too much. But DSG is not really that big of a 147.
Earl Spence would kill him.
He can hit.
Come on.
Yeah. All these other guys would, but DSG, that would be a good fight. That's game. That's a fight right there.
I don't want to even plant that seed because he might be dumb enough to take it.
You guys hating on Mikey, underestimating that man's ability, bro.
No, man, you saw him in the Lipinets fight.
He's a good fighter, Georgie, but I don't want to see him die, okay?
Wow. Robert said if he dies, he dies.
I agree. 147 is too much for him, but only that fight, the DSG, if he get a belt, then he can go there and conquer. And how many Mexicans have grabbed so many belts in multiple divisions?
I don't know.
Not that many. So that's Hall of Fame right there, guarantee. You could be Hall of Fame right now. Who knows?
Well, he's going to be Hall of Fame right now because he got four titles in 4 different weight classes. He doesn't need to do any more.
Yeah, but so do AB. You will put AB there too. AB a Hall of Famer too.
Yeah, that's going to be a scary thought when he becomes eligible. You know that?
What's that, AB?
That's what I'm saying. So you got to see, like, I don't know, man.
AB's a first ballot Hall of Famer.
When I see the Indongo fight, what is it? When Crawford beat him on the 3rd round, and this guy beat him the other day in the 2nd round, and he had 2 belts at 140, what's going on? Somebody called the floor department.
Don't worry, Regis Prograis, he's a real player in that division.
Yeah,
people are going to have to deal with him.
Who?
Prograis.
Yo, he seems solid, but how come we haven't heard from this guy before? That's what I'm saying.
Because Georgie, he's been on. If you watch Showbox, he's been on Showbox several times.
Yeah, I knew. I've seen a lot of his fights.
They're pushing him. Okay.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of his
All right,
fights.
I gotta catch up with my boxing. I'm gonna leave you guys with a positive note. Everybody out there, support the channel, behave in the chat, and see you next week. I'm outie.
All right, catch you, Georgie.
Did you guys know that Corey Lee is in the chat? He's holding. Corey Lee is holding online.
Yeah, I know. Every week he does this.
Should we just make him wait?
Why not? Him and Jason should be the last 2 calls.
804. 804, you're live.
Hello, Corey.
What's up? What's up?
Corey. What's happening? So, Corey.
Make me painfully wet.
That's right. Corey, did Canelo cheat? Did he cheat?
Huh?
Did Canelo cheat?
Oh, yeah. So that's what I want to talk about, man. Beeb, shout out to Beeb. What's up, Beeb, Rob, and Eric, man? Hope everybody's having a good day. Got some good fights I want to touch on.
What's up, brother?
My channel's growing fast, y'all, man. I
Love
did
it.
a Prograis Indongo post-fight. 1,300 views, baby. Let's go.
Nice.
So, I mean, I'm doing pretty good, man. And it's just by myself now. So, I'm,
good job, Corey. Good job, Corey.
Thanks, y'all. So, yeah, man, I seen Beeb go live earlier, man. And Beeb still owes me a music video, man. We're supposed to link up, man. But
I'll do it with you.
Man, come on, Beeb. You dropped the ball, baby.
I'll do it with you.
So, anyways,
Beeb sounds excited.
Is with Canelo, man. I think Beeb had a good point, man. I think it's fucked up that they did Lucas Brown like that. They had Lucas Brown suspended for I think a year, and Canelo gets a slap on the wrist. I mean, listening to Beeb talk, man, it really shined the light on the bullshit and the politics and what money can do, because we all know Lucas Brown is not making anywhere near the amount of money Canelo is. And not only is Canelo making money for him, he's making money for Oscar, he's making money for Golden Boy, he's making money for Bernard Hopkins, and he's definitely making money for Jose Sulaiman. It's kind of funny that he get popped and then all of a sudden he's fighting for the WBC title. That's some bullshit right there. That's a red flag if I've never seen one. He wasn't fighting for the WBC at first. He said, fuck the WBC. at the first Canelo fight. Yeah. And then the second Canelo fight, the second Triple G fight, he's saying now, you know, he's with them now. You know what I'm saying? Because he got popped dirty and because WBC had their back. You know what I'm saying? And I think a lot of, you know, writers and bloggers should shine the light on Canelo, man, because I think it's fucked up, man. He gets the golden treatment. And, you know, like they say, man, he's Canelo, man, you know. So, I mean, you know, they giving him a red carpet treatment, man, with the whole drug situation, man. Like, you know, Beeb said, you know, he has $1 million contract, you know, over millions and millions of dollars he's made, and he doesn't have a personal chef. He's eating at Taco Bell. Give me a fucking break, man. You know, it is some bullshit. You know what I'm saying? I'm glad Beeb spoke up and said something about it because I think something should be done about it. I think he should be reprimanded instead of a smack on the ass and say, good job, man. Just don't get caught again. But I mean, you know, hey, man, you know, we gotta be the voice of reason. We gotta be the voice. You know, we gotta shout out our opinion, and our opinion counts if we say it long enough, and if we say it numerous times. You know, we got a platform, so we should use it. And
the horrible part about this, if he goes on and wins, you know, everybody's gonna, oh well, you know, no big deal.
If he knocks out Triple G, they're going straight back to the computer. So you can bet your bottom dollar on that. You know, he is the golden child and he got the red carpet. But if he knocks Triple G out, mark my words, I know I'm gonna say something about it. I don't know about y'all, but I know on my channel I'm gonna say something about it because it needs to be said. You know, Beebs really opened my eyes on how they treated Lucas Brown, and they suspended him. And for the same exact thing, Canelo didn't get any suspension or anything, man. And I think it has a lot to do with Canelo's stance and where he stands in boxing. They both have different stands. You know what I mean? So you got a couple $100,000 fighter versus, you know, could be hundreds of millions of dollars with Canelo that could be generated from, you know, the arena, the hotel reservation, pretty much like what they said when Mayweather fights. Las Vegas shuts down for one night for Mayweather, you know?
And now it does the same thing for Canelo. It does the same thing now for Canelo.
My insight, I'm just trying to give y'all my insight on what I think is going on and what I think we should do about it. You know what I mean? I think Beeb really had a great, strong point, man. Big props to Beebs, man. You know, he did his research on this one, man. And I appreciate that, man. But moving on, man, I want to talk about some guys that aren't cheap, man. So, yeah, man, the Prograis fight, man, I think the Prograis and the Indongo fight, man, wow. Indongo, man, he needs to lay it up, man. But starting from round one, Prograis, you know, he had a dominant jab. He was doing good, and, you know, he was ducking and weaving and good head movement, man. And, you know, all of a sudden, you know, he clocked Indongo. I think it was in the first or the second round, and he clocked him in the body. And I swear, it's like it didn't look like it hurt Indongo, but he fell to the canvas on a body shot, and it was partially blocked. But that's how much power this guy has at 140. You know what I mean? It was just the sheer power that Prograis has that it just knocked him down. And it wasn't. I don't even think Indongo was hurt. It was just the blow, just had him. You know, and that's another thing. Indongo's feet work are horrible, man. He has one of the worst the feet work in boxing, man, right now, man. You know, your footwork, you know, has a lot to do with your coordination, man. His coordination is just off, man. It's awful. You know what I mean? I don't know if it's just he has weak legs, but I feel like everything Prograis was hitting him with and everything that Terrence Crawford was hitting him with, he felt from both fighters. And before that, with Ricky Burns and Travinsky, we didn't see any of that. Is it because they didn't have a chance to get to him, or is it because they don't have enough power to affect him?
They probably didn't have enough power, Corey.
A lot of these guys get into fights with guys that are far superior than them, and now their downfalls become huge downfalls. You know, which you can cover it up with the Travinsky fight and the Ricky Burns fight. You can cover up some of your inconsistencies and your grade F, in certain areas. You can cover it up with a Travisky and a Ricky Burns, but you can't cover it up with a Terrence Crawford, and obviously you can't cover it up with a Regis Prograis, because Prograis actually called out Terrence Crawford before this fight, so I'm pretty sure he had it in his mind to outdo Terrence Crawford with the same opponent. You know what I mean? And I think that's a telltale sign. I think he's trying to make a statement at 140. He has a good opposition coming up with Amir Iman and Jose Ramirez. This is going to be an awesome, tournament finals, for the WBC belt, because he actually is the mandatory now. Then I like how the WBC is doing this. You know what I mean? They're doing it because, we need a real champion with the WBC organization. And I think the winner of the WBC tournament is going to be the best fighter at 140, in my opinion. That's just in my opinion, man. That's how I feel. I've weighed out all options in every area. I think Prograis runs through Lipinets. I think Prograis runs through Mikey Garcia. I don't think Mikey Garcia, in changing those to the Mikey Garcia fight, you like how I did that? I just swiftly turned it into Mikey Garcia.
Your segue, Sam.
But yeah, man, I don't think Mikey Garcia. I think Mikey Garcia, man, he's good, but he's good. He's good at 135. He's not that good, man, at 140. Lipinets was touching him up, and I honestly think Lipinets hurt him. You know what I mean? And at worst, he got Mikey Garcia's attention through the whole fight, because I think Mikey Garcia, he's been knocked down before, y'all. Let's not act like Mikey Garcia hasn't been knocked down before. He's been knocked down before with lesser weight guys. I think he was knocked down at 130 or 126 by Salido. And I think it was either Salido or Martinez knocked him down. And neither one of those guys are brutal knockout artists. You know what I'm saying? So if you get knocked down by some of those guys and you get your nose broken by some of those type of guys, those level guys, just imagine what could happen to him at 140 with a whole nother level and a whole nother skill level. You see what I'm saying? Because I think Prograis, man, is an awesome fighter. And I think if Mikey Garcia and Prograis, ever fought, man, I think Prograis would actually show what his worth, man. And I don't think Mikey Garcia would have an O when he leaves there. You know what I mean? And, with the Mikey Garcia fight, I think Mikey Garcia had, good, he had good posture, and he held his ground. He got hit flush by Lipinets, and he caught it on the chin, and, he took the shot, but that's not to say that somebody else with a little bit more power in the division can't hurt him. If you ever seen Robert Garcia in any of his interviews, he says that he's not in a rush for him to go up. Mikey Garcia is. But it sounds like the family isn't in a rush for him to go up in weight. He's like, no, we're going to go back down to 135. You know what I mean? And Mikey Garcia's chirping in the background like, yeah, Earl Spence, I'll be in welterweight in the next year or two. Watch out for me in welterweight. And Mikey and Robert Garcia and them, they're downplaying it. They're not trying to see him out there because they know that boy can get hurt if he goes up to 147. If Lipinets can touch him the way he touched him last night at 140, what the hell do you think? I want to know y'all's opinion. What the hell do you think is going to happen to him at 147 against the likes of Earl Spence, Terrence Crawford?
Well, yeah, we've already talked about that. Yeah, we said that's a bad idea.
Not going to be good. Not going to be good. Not going to be good. No.
And, I just think, and then the last thing I want to get on is the Valdez fight, man. I want to say one thing about Valdez, man, in the Quigg fight. Valdez has an awesome heart, man. He got his chin tested and his will tested, man. And he was resilient, man. He didn't stop. He didn't quit on himself. From the information that I'm hearing from boxing scene is that he got his jaw broken in the 5th round, and he kept fighting into the 12th round. So that's for Valdez. He got some of his teeth knocked out in the fight too. They did a post-fight conference, and he could barely talk, y'all. So they had to haul him off to the emergency room for precautionary reasons. But I mean, the battle, man. Quigg hurt him in the 5th. It was a back and forth battle. That's another thing. Valdez pretty much had Top Rank in his left pocket because the scorecards were just. I don't think the scorecards read anywhere close to what the fight was, man. I think it was a lot closer fight than what it was. You know what I mean? You could go 2 rounds. I would give 2 rounds positive to Valdez, but they went 118, 112 for Valdez on most of the scorecards. I think it was a bit closer than that. You know what I mean? But, you know, what it is I think they showed off, man. I think they had a good performance. I don't think this was an easy touch for Bob Arum's Top Rank, which he does do a lot of soft touches to his fighters, like Ramirez and, you know, Lomachenko. And, you know, I think this is a pretty hard touch, man. And, you know, what fights are coming up next week, y'all?
We're going to go over those in a few minutes.
Well, we got the main event.
Yeah, we'll actually
go over
those
in a few minutes. Yeah.
All right, Corey, we're going to get running,
Well,
man. Before you get out of here,
can I get my picks in?
Before you get out of here, give us your YouTube channel so people can go to it.
Oh, on my YouTube channel is Corey Lee Boxing, man, on YouTube, man. Go check me out, man. I appreciate all the support, y'all, and yeah, man. I'll do a pre-fight and a post-fight for the fights next week. I didn't look on the schedule yet, but
awesome.
You know, it's probably some good fights coming up next week, man. And y'all have a good night, all right, man?
Good stuff, man.
All right.
Yeah, that was Corey Lee. Go check out his boxing channel, Corey Lee Boxing on YouTube. He's always got some good videos out there. 706. This is Jason. This is Jason, isn't it? 706.
Yep, that's Jason.
That is
guys.
Jason.
How you guys doing?
Hey, Jason, what's up?
Nothing much. Just doing
you guys
show.
remember we were arguing like, oh, here comes my intro.
He's a fucking mental case is what he is.
Oh, Robert, why do you always say that? Come on, Robert. What?
You guys remember last month when we had that big fucking argument about Lipinets being a lot better than you guys were giving him credit for? Do you guys remember?
No,
he did well. He did very well. He did very well. I
was the only one who called in out of your 15, 20 callers and that gave him credit for being better than you guys were giving him for.
Yeah, hey.
Remember that?
But I did say one thing. He would not win. He would not win more than 3 rounds, and he did not win more than 3 rounds.
I gave him 4. I gave him 4, and I think
fair enough, Jason.
Well, how many did the judges give him?
That is true. Yeah, they gave
one judge gave him 4. I think both judges gave 2 of the judges gave him 3 rounds.
110 twice and 118, 109, I believe, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think
even Mikey's. If you look at Mikey's face on ES News after the fight, he didn't look like that after Broner or any of those other fights. So that guy put some work on it. He was hitting.
It was a tough fight for him.
I will admit that fight was better than I thought it would be. I will concede that point. That fight was much better than I thought it would be.
Yeah, for sure.
And I guess the last few Lipinets performances, he was just fighting down to his competition. Maybe I guess he stepped his game up for Mikey. You know, he looked really sharp to me, and he looked in way better shape.
No, I give him his props. He did a lot better than I thought he would.
He looked good, man. I still think the fight of the weekend was that quick fight.
I think he beats Broner. What do you guys think? Lipinets beats Broner, I think.
I do. Yeah.
You're talking about Broner's from Cincinnati, son. That's Title Town. Nobody gets beat from there. Speaking of Title Town,
that's getting old too. Come on, Eric. That's getting old.
Speaking of Title Town, let me talk here real quick. Robert, be quiet.
On this one. I think
Robert,
Adrian
quiet down. Before we go any further, you know the brackets came out today. Number 1, Xavier. Number 2, Cincinnati. Number 5, Ohio State.
Stop it.
Title Town's running it,
Nobody
son.
cares about that crap.
Running it, son.
This is the home of boxing, not NCAA, crooked ass NCAA.
We talk about
fuck that.
Everything.
But did you guys happen to catch? Did you guys happen to catch Richard Comey versus Luna? That was a fight.
I heard Comey knocked him out like a 5th round.
Fight.
Yeah, I heard
yes,
Comey knocked him out in the 5th round or something, 5th or 6th round. Yeah.
And Richard Comey looked a lot improved too. He looked better with Jacob's trainer. I thought he was doing great.
Yeah. Yeah, he looked good.
No, he looked good.
If he fights Easter again, I think he might beat Easter because he almost beat him the first time.
He's not beating Easter. Come on. Not beating Easter.
Easter is regressing, man. Easter looks like he's regressing to me. Even in the last
he looks like he's fighting better competition. He's fighting top competition.
Fortuna wasn't that great. Fortuna looks sloppy as hell too.
Fortuna's a good fighter. Everybody elevates it when they come to Title Town. Everybody elevates it.
Did you guys see Steve Kim going all over fucking Eddie Hearn for a couple of pounds? Do you think Steve Kim, Robbie's BFF, is going to go off after Oscar and Canelo for the drug test and shady scorecards like that?
Jason, do you listen to Steve's show on Mondays? He did a whole segment on.
I'm talking about in person. I'm talking about in person, Robbie. Do you think he'll have the guts to do that to Oscar in front of the public?
Well, he kind of does if he does it on the show.
I have no idea, Jace.
You know he won't. So just answer. You know he won't.
Well, no. I mean, if he does it, if he does it on air, then he's done it in public.
When the fuck has he ever done it? When did he do it after the last fight, after the scorecard? Did he ever? No. So why would he do it now?
Jason, you obviously don't listen to his show every week.
I just told you in person, Robbie. Who cares about his show being hundreds of miles away from Oscar? I'm talking about
hell, if you can listen to his.
I'm not going to listen to his show. That's the biggest comeback in boxing. Why would I listen to his show? That guy's a piece of shit.
Then don't say that Steve doesn't say things, because he does.
I told you in person, Robbie, like you did to Eddie, right? Why do you keep changing the subject? Is he going to say it in person? Is he? Has he ever? To air him on Oscar like that? Has he ever?
Look, Jason, I'm not with him when he goes to press conferences. I can only tell you what he does on his show.
Well, you see his press conference on YouTube. When he asks his questions, he is always extra polite to Oscar and Aram, and you know why that is, because they've given him fucking thousands of lunches and dinners so far. Eddie hasn't done that yet. Yeah, so he's a company man. He's a company man. He's like a bootlicking company man. So let's agree with that. We agree. He's not going to do that in person to Oscar or Aram ever. You know that. You've never seen that happen to them. And this was only over 2 pounds.
This is not the Steve Kim show, Jason. Talk about something else.
I just want to expose the snake when I see one. He's never done this kind of thing, and Oscar and Aram have done way more crooked shit than Scott Quigg. Right? You just, I think you're in love with Steve. I mean, every time I expose him, you start going, "Oh my God, why do you have to go there?" I mean, I don't get that shit. Why are you so defensive about him? Like,
you know, I want to see you. I want to see you call his show on Monday and try to do this to him in person.
Call his show for what? He would never do this to Oscar and Aram, man. Like I told you, and if he did, you should send me a video so I can come on next time and be like, "I was wrong, Robbie." You should send me a video link.
Robert brings up a very solid point. Why don't you call his show and talk to him about it? Talk to him about his
Talk to him about what?
About
talk to him about call his show so I can listen to him bash Ward and Mayweather every week. I've heard his show many times.
Okay, well then why don't you call him and
why are you listening to a PBC bashing and Floyd bashing and Ward bashing show? I mean, that's what it. And then he goes out there and defends guys like Victor Conte. He said Victor Conte is great for the sport. He's bashing Ward and defending Victor Conte. That's the kind of snake he is.
Look, Jason, if you're gonna attack somebody, you need to attack them. Call his show. Let's see you do that.
I can call this show and say whatever I want. I don't need your permission to bash Steve Kim.
You can't bash somebody that's not here.
I can bash him whenever I want. I just did. I just told you facts. He would never do this to Oscar Aram, and you know that too. And you just can't admit it.
Why don't you confront Steve and see what you get?
I'll get hung up on him because he's a pussy. That's it.
That's funny.
He's just like you. He's like a crybaby. When he gets exposed, he starts fucking grunting and shit. He calls people mental cases. That's what he does.
Well,
he blocks people on Twitter.
When you do crap like this, you are a mental case, Jason.
Crap like what? Expose him for being a fucking bootlegging company man?
Number one, you have the opportunity to call his show and say this crap, but yet you choose to call our show and say this when he's not here.
Yeah, because I listen to shows that are fair. I listen to shows that are fair. I'm not going to call a show that just sits around bashes American fighters all day and kisses fucking Kovalev's ass all day. I'm not going to do that.
Oh my God! Then it proves to me you don't listen.
Listen, what? All right. Well, I mean, do you think
I call his show every week. I listen to his show every week. I know what he does.
Yeah, he kisses Golden Girl and Top Rank's ass for a living. That's what he does. I know. You would never disrespect Todd DeBuff like that in person, and you know this. You've never seen that happen in your life, and I haven't either. That's my only point. Why doesn't he do this to the people that are in American boxing? Beeb, can you explain that?
I think there's a bias in the sport amongst the boxing media. I think people pick and choose their favorites, and I think it's pretty obvious.
This would be like, I don't know, this would be like somebody who calls up and he loves the PBC and bashes everybody else. You know, I think maybe we can liken it to that.
That's exactly what he's doing here.
What does a PBC have to do with Steve Kim kissing Oscar's ass and not talking about doping and shady scorecards, Eric? What does that have to do with PBC?
It completely went over his head, Robert.
Yes, it did.
What the hell? Eric and Robbie hate it when the media members get exposed for fucking being biased. I just don't get it. Why you get so defensive about it?
I'm not defensive at all.
I don't want to know why you guys take it so personal. Yeah, you guys get defensive and take it personally as if I'm questioning your integrity.
You've
Steve Kim has no integrity, and everybody knows that.
Well, right, but
if you
wouldn't that
want to
indicate
attack
that you're
him,
taking it personally?
do it on his show. Don't do it here.
I'm doing it right here. I'm doing it right here. If you want to cry about it, just let me talk to Beeb and Eric. If you just want to cry about it, let me talk to Beeb and Eric. You cry about Steve Kim like he's like your ex lover or something. I don't get it.
Look, I believe in attacking somebody when they can defend themselves. He's not here.
I'm not. Oh yeah, so Steve bashes fighters on his show every week. They can defend themselves on a show, really?
We're not talking about fighters, Jason. We're talking about somebody that you could actually call up every week and bash him.
Okay, Robbie. Okay, let me this, Robbie. What do you think about the guy that bashes the American gold medal champ and a multiple champion like Andre Ward, and then praises guys like Victor Conti and says they're great for the sport? What do you think about that guy's integrity? I just want to know that.
But in all fairness, okay. He bashes
in all
fairness,
what do you think about somebody bashing a gold medal American winner and praising dope dealers like Victor Conti? Please answer that first.
Well, that's what I'm going to do. All right. He bashes Andre Ward, and, Andre Ward gets a lot of criticism, not just
literally weekly. He does it weekly. He doesn't do it something. He does it like every fucking week.
I'll say it again. Andre Ward gets a lot of criticism from a lot of media members because he doesn't do press. He does not do a lot of press.
And all he does is win.
Great. Okay, so he's never said that he's a bad fighter. He's never said that he has any flaws in his game or anything like that. The only thing he's been critical of.
He says, I can't understand why Andre Ward would have fans. Why would you want to watch Andre Ward? How could a fucking journalist go out of his way and tell people, why would you want to watch Andre Ward? I've never seen any journalist say shit like that. Literally, I've never seen any journalist say anything like that.
When he does his podcast, he can say whatever he wants, just like we do.
I know he can say whatever he wants, Robbie. Who said he can't? Just relax. Come on. I'm not like trying to ban him or anything. I'm just having a conversation like what a snake he is. He praises guys like Victor Conti who provide athletes with steroids and fucking bashes Ward. Just think about that. Just put that in your tiny little head, Robbie, and shake it around and think what that means. Please think about that.
You're ridiculous, okay?
Think about how bad that is for boxing. Think about that, Robbie. Think about that. Think about how bad it is when he bashes Eddie for Quigg missing weight, but he doesn't bash Oscar and Canelo for shady scorecards and doping in person.
He did a whole show on Canelo's situation last week. Go listen to it.
So why won't he do it at the press conference? He's always at the press conference. He's right in the first row. Why doesn't he do it? Why?
One thing I did not get. I will say one thing. One thing I did not understand about that whole exchange is, why is it Eddie Hearn's fault that Scott Quigg didn't make weight? Eddie Hearn is a promoter. He's not a trainer. He's not a strength and conditioning. He's not a strength and conditioning coach. He's not a strength and conditioning coach. I don't understand why he was being chastised about Quigg not making weight.
Did you hear his tone, Beeb? Did you hear his tone and how fucking fast he came at Eddie? Like, he was like waiting to go at him. Like, I was like, damn.
I didn't hear it.
I fucking hate Eddie. He's a fucking snake. He's blocking the Wilder fight. I hate Eddie. I don't want to defend Eddie, but I just want to say this.
Hang on.
Have you ever seen him go after Oscar or Bob Arum like that, Beeb?
No. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Never.
What happened at the press conference?
Absolutely not. Right.
What happened at the press conference, Beeb?
So Steve Kim was asking Eddie Hearn about, why Scott Quigg didn't make weight.
Right.
Should the fight have gone on? Why didn't Scott Quigg do the step on the scale the day of the fight like he was requested to do by Valdez's camp? And Eddie was just saying it was, I understand why the Valdez camp wanted him to do that, but it was Scott Quigg's choice not to do that. And he was basically defending the fact that Scott Quigg, just like I said earlier, made every attempt to try to make weight, and the implication that he did not was incorrect. And then I guess Steve Kim asked him a question about why didn't the commission do anything about it? And he goes, well, in this specific case, the commission acted the way they felt was the right thing. And then Steve Kim was like, oh, well, just just because it was in this case, like this case, basically saying, is this case different than any other case? Why? In other words, it's kind of implying that Scott Quigg got a pass and preferential treatment for being allowed to fight. But a lot of times,
to be clear, I don't have a problem with that, but I just never seen him do that to any other American promoter. That's what I have a fucking problem with.
I'm not going to sit there.
That's the only problem.
I'm not going to sit there and tell Steve Kim what he can say and what he can't say, and what his opinion should be and what it shouldn't be.
I'm not either.
But I will say, I don't understand why he was attacking the promoter for that. It's not the promoter's fault. It would have been better. It would have been better for the promoter. Wait a minute, Jason.
Steve Kim ever asking Oscar or Eric Gomez these kind of hard questions, right? I think it was Mike Montero. Steve Kim was fucking silent, right?
But it would have been better for Eddie Hearn if Scott Quigg did make weight, because then he would have had a chance to win the title, and it would have been better for Hearn to promote a world champion as opposed to not promoting a world champion. So it wasn't like Eddie Hearn had anything to do with Quigg not making weight, or if that was
run the miles for him. Yeah, you can't run the miles for him.
It wasn't like it was some collusion between him and Eddie Hearn and the commissioner, Eddie Hearn and Scott Quigg. So I mean, I don't know.
Hey, let me get in there.
Go ahead.
What was I going to say? Beeb, you remember the first fight, right? When GGG got robbed, according to most people. It was Michael Montero that was doing the questioning to Oscar and the Nevada and the fucking Tom Loeffler. You remember Steve Kim? I don't remember one fucking word from that guy in that press conference. Do you?
No,
I remember Montero kind of took.
I don't remember one word from Dan Raphael or Dougie Fisher either.
No.
And I hate when Montero bashes PBC, but at least that guy fucking stood up to Golden Boy. At least he had the fucking nuts to do that.
Yeah. It's a good point. Very good point.
Also, another thing, I wasn't trying to defend Eddie, so let me not give it to that fucking fun baby snake too. You see how Shelly Finkel exposed that fucking liar with those emails, and as soon as he exposed those, the next thing was he didn't reply to be like, "Oh, okay, my bad." He just started making up Shelly Finkel. He started naming him like a kid. Did you notice that?
He
didn't reply to that.
You know what? I saw that. I saw that whole thing. Yeah, I saw that whole thing on video.
Yeah, but the fight,
IFL had it or something like that. And it sounds like Wilder would have took the whatchamacallit, the
40. They said they'll take 40 today. 40, they said they'll take 40. They don't need 50. They said they'll take 40.
But in the rematch, if there is a rematch, and if there's a rematch warranted, then of course it would be flipped over. And that's what it sounds like.
Which Eddie said is fine.
But Jason, Eddie came out today and said that if Joshua beats Parker, then the Wilder fight is probably next.
Yeah, I don't like that word probably, because he always leaves himself a little room to snake out of. That's what I'm saying.
That fight's happening in December.
No. Well, maybe because
that fight is happening in December.
Agent never fights 3 times in a year. He always fights twice. He has those 2 big dates.
This year he's fighting possibly 3 times, maybe twice.
Maybe.
As long as he doesn't fight anybody after Parker and it's Wilder next year, I'm happy. That's all I want.
Very good.
Well, even if he fights Big Baby Miller,
go ahead.
Even if he fights Big Baby Miller in maybe May or June, still plenty of time for him to fight Wilder in December.
May or June? I thought he's fighting when is he fighting Parker?
At the end of this month.
That's too quick of a turnaround.
So he could fight. So he could fight Big Baby Miller in June.
Eddie called him old school. He said,
I am
old school because when I was go ahead. My bad. I guess we're talking about each other.
He could fight Big Baby Miller in June or July, and then fight Wilder in December.
Well, the rumor I heard, Beeb, is he's supposed to fight Big Baby Miller August 25th in Barclays.
Right. That's what I'm hearing too.
So he's going to do one fight with HBO because Showtime's not picking up Baby Miller, right? Showtime's not going to pick up the fight. That's not a Showtime fighter.
Don't know. Hasn't been decided yet.
I have no idea.
Hasn't been decided yet. So,
all right,
Jason,
guys, I'm done. Thanks for calling in. No personal offenses, Robbie. I have no personal animus toward you. It was all about free
I know, but If you,
All right,
you know, you have the opportunity to talk to Steve if you want.
That guy. I mean, we know his game. I mean, he's a little child. Like he's a child. That's what he acts like. He's.
Hey, I talk to him every week,
all day.
Jason. You can do the same thing.
All right.
Well, can you ask him? Will he?
All right, boys, you two. I'll separate you two all the time, huh? What's the matter with you two?
You know,
you got to step in here and
he would
separate
be just
you
fine
guys.
if he would stick to, you know, boxing.
Yeah.
He's got the opportunity to talk to Steve every single week, just like I do. He can call up and, you know, say all these things to him and see what his response is. It may not be the kind of response he wants to hear, but I'd rather see him do that than waste his call here attacking somebody who's got a show of his own where you could call in and do the same thing.
Look at you two hens going after each other. Two yentas. What's the matter with you
Robbie,
two?
can I talk to Steve?
Well, let's go to the upcoming fights. Go ahead, Beeb.
Hang on. Go ahead, Beeb.
Oh, I was asking Robbie, can I talk to Steve Kim too?
Oh, of course you can, Beeb.
All right, thanks, man.
So can Eric. My God.
Want to make sure it's just not Jason. I want to be able to talk to. I want to be able to talk to Steve Kim too.
Dedicated caller. I appreciate his support to our show. But if you want to talk to somebody else who makes himself available every week for people to talk to, he can do the same thing. That's been my whole point. His whole phone call was a waste of time, if you want my honest opinion.
Whoa.
Oh.
That was like 5 minutes we could never get back, huh, Robbie?
That's right, yeah.
Oh, my
anyway,
goodness.
Let's go to the upcoming fights, Eric.
Absolutely. 312, you're live.
Fight Doctor in the house.
Fight Doctor.
Hello, Fight Doctor.
Always.
Fight Doctor, baby. What an honor and a pleasure.
What's on your mind, Fight Doctor?
Okay, gentlemen, there are a couple of things. If I may go off topic just for a second, not really off topic, but a little off topic.
Sure.
With the whole Alvarez and the whole situation with the Alvarez and the clenbuterol or whatever.
Clenbuterol, yes.
It's clenbuterol, yeah.
Yeah. So, Beeb, I saw your video on the topic the other day, and I agree 100%. Like, you know, this guy is, I think, essentially the number one draw in boxing. Is there any question there? I mean, since the departure of Floyd Mayweather, I mean, he's arguably the number one draw in boxing. I mean, I don't think Pacquiao still has the same pay-per-view. Well, at least if he's not the number one draw in boxing, he's the number one draw in the United States.
Yeah,
yes.
he's the number one draw in the United States. I think Joshua has outdone him worldwide.
Okay. So for a guy in his position to use the whole tainted meat in Mexico, Tijuana excuse, you know, yeah, I think intelligent people should be able to read and see and understand exactly what's going on here. You know, here's a guy who can train in the United States. I mean, he's done camps in Big Bear before, right?
Yeah.
Actually, he trains in San Diego most of the time when he's here in the States.
Yeah.
Beautiful San Diego, okay?
Yep.
Beautiful San Diego. And I'm sure, I've been to San Diego recently, okay? And I'm sure, even though I don't eat meat, but I'm sure that the meat in San Diego probably isn't tainted.
That's correct.
Right. Illegal to have clenbuterol in the meat in the United States. Yeah, it wouldn't be there.
You know, and listen, you know, I'm a bit disappointed by the response from, well, first of all, I was really disappointed when Vada sort of, you know, provided the built-in excuse. You know, this is consistent with tainted meat. Come on, man. I mean, really? I would think that it's probably consistent with peg use, okay? In addition to being consistent with ingesting tainted meat. I think that's one of the possibilities. So, and then, you know, for the WBC and the WBA to, you know, I'm just, you know, this is business as usual. You know what? I don't even think we need to talk about peg use anymore because it's just business. It's good business. It makes for arguably better fights. And I don't think it's going anywhere. It's boxing's big, little, not so secret. So why are we even talking about this shit anymore? In fact, I don't even want to talk about it anymore because it is what it is. The hell with
well,
it.
you know what, Fight Doctor? If nobody's going to punish anybody for failing drug tests, then there shouldn't be any more drug tests.
Well, listen, people are still getting punished for failing drug tests. It's just they're not punishing the right people. All right. If you're the biggest draw, one of the biggest draws in boxing, and Mexican apparently, you don't get punished for, failing a drug test. So yeah, listen, Robbie, I agree with you, but they're not going to punish the people that they're supposed to punish. They're punishing,
and that's my whole point. If you're not going to punish the people that fail, then there shouldn't be any test.
Yeah, right. What's the point of it? Okay.
Yeah.
What's the point of it? But yeah, that's neither here nor there. It is what it is. There's no point even talking about it anymore, to be honest with you.
Right.
But
anyway,
on to bigger and better things. Yeah, Joshua doesn't want none, and Lomachenko definitely does not want any of that Mikey Garcia business. Okay, they're gonna duck, they're gonna dodge, they're gonna make excuses, they're gonna talk out of the side of their mouths. No, I'm sorry. Aram and company are gonna talk out of their asses and find every reason, every excuse not to fight Mikey Garcia at 135 pounds. I've got $20 right now. Anyone who has the cojones, okay, to accept the bet that fight never gets made. Period. Garcia will be at 147 pounds.
I'll tell you this.
That's why I said earlier, Fight Doctor, the easiest fight for Mikey to make is the one against Robert Easter, because the other fights aren't going to be made because of the boxing politics.
I will tell you this, though.
Yeah,
I will tell you this, that if that fight does get made, that I will bet you that Lomachenko wipes Mikey Garcia.
Oh, I'll take that bet.
You got it.
Okay, so then, yeah. No, wait. Beeb, hold your horses, sir. Beeb, hold your horses. The man was addressing me. Okay, I'm not about to let you have that easy money. Okay, I will take that bet.
That is very
okay.
Easy
However,
money for me.
You will listen. I will take that bet. Okay, but look, the fight is not going to happen. They're not going to make that fight. Okay, and
it's a tough fight to make.
If by some miracle that somehow Mikey Garcia walks on water into the offices of Top Rank and that fight gets made,
right?
Mikey Garcia completely obliterates Lomachenko, aka I want to be no mas. Come on, man. Come on, man. I mean,
Lomachenko,
you need to stop that.
Wipes that guy. And I'm going to tell you right now, Mikey Garcia won't win 3 rounds in that fight. He won't win 3 rounds.
Okay.
He gets murked.
Listen, you know what? You need to put me in contact with your dealer because that is some good shit you're smoking, sir. Okay?
It's good stuff, I got to tell you.
That is some good shit you're smoking. Okay?
Hey, that fight's never going to happen.
It's a tough one, man, because like I said, with Mikey leaving Top Rank like he did, that's a tough sell. That's a tough fight to make, for Top. I mean, very easy fight to make, but for Top Rank, that fight, I don't see it happening. But if it does happen, pretty soon people are going to clamor for it, though. If Mikey stays around 135, 140, people are going to clamor for that fight. I want to see it.
Listen, here's what's going to happen. Here's what's going to happen, okay? And look, mark this show, put it in the archives, whatever you need to do, but I'm calling it right now. The minute Garcia signs to fight somebody at 147 pounds, that's when you will hear noise coming out of Top Rank and the Lomachenko camp talking about they want to see Mikey Garcia at 135, okay? I'm telling you right now, they don't want any of that Garcia business.
I'll tell you what, I wish I disagreed with that. I don't, though. Yeah, I could see that happening. If he moves up and weight, we wanted to fight him. Where'd he go? Yeah, if that fight doesn't happen.
Yeah, that's it. No, that's exactly what's going to happen. The minute he signed the contract to say to fight Danny Garcia, Bob and Oscar both are going to come out and say, well, we got Jorge Linares, we got Lomachenko. Yeah. Why is he fighting? No. They're both going to do that. You watch.
Yeah,
I still say Lomachenko crushes him.
I mean, they don't want any of that business. I mean, look, listen, the guy that I saw last night, beats the dog shit out of Lomachenko. Okay, definitely. Listen, okay. There's no question there.
The one that was getting touched up by Lipinets?
They don't want any of that business.
The one that was getting touched up by Lipinets walks over Lomachenko?
There's no question. There's no question. Wait, first of all, listen, Lipinets, let's talk about Lipinets before. That's the first time I've ever seen
13 pro
him,
fights.
but,
13 pro fights.
Maybe you weren't paying attention.
13.
Eric, I don't think you were paying attention. First of all, let's talk about who the man's trainer is, okay? Who trains the man? Do you know who Buddy McGirt is?
Yeah, I've heard of Buddy McGirt, yes.
Eric?
On numerous times, yes. I even saw Buddy McGirt fight. How about that?
Yeah, I've seen the man fight in his prime, okay? I saw the man when Pernell Whitaker challenged him for the welterweight crown.
I saw both of those fights.
The man was the welterweight champion of the world, the legitimate welterweight champion of the world. Buddy McGirt was a damn good fighter.
Great fighter, yeah,
in his day.
For sure.
Okay. Yeah,
he's a great trainer too. He's a really good trainer.
Talent like
very good trainer.
Yeah, well, he gave a talent he gave a talent like Pernell Whitaker all he could handle while Pernell Whitaker was in his prime.
With one arm. He did it with one arm. Yeah.
So you just can't dismiss a guy who's being trained by someone who was as good as Buddy McGirt. So yeah, when I learned who Lipinets' trainer was, and then I saw the fight, I wasn't surprised with the performance because of who this guy is being trained by. So yeah, to dismiss Lipinets as being a non-entity, that's being, I think, a bit short-sighted. So
well, with 13 pro fights,
I was actually surprised that. I'm sorry?
13 pro fights, though. I would have expected Garcia to really hammer him out. You know what I mean? I mean, not have as much trouble as he did. And granted, the scorecards didn't reflect how close the fight was. But again, though, with just 13 fights, I mean, either Garcia's not that good or Lipinets is a special talent. And I think I like Lipinets, man. He impressed me. He really did.
Yeah, well, he looked good. Yeah. I mean, and I was, impressed at how good he looked at only 13 fights. I was thoroughly impressed with how good he looked. However, if your argument is Garcia isn't that good, okay, well then my question is this: where in the hell is Lomachenko?
Well,
why aren't they making noise about making that fight?
My argument is that Garcia is not going to be that good at 140 or 147. That's my argument. Now, 135, which I think is probably his best weight, he's very good. I think he's very good. But I still think that Lomachenko takes him pretty easy. I think Lomachenko at this point takes anybody pretty easy.
Yeah, let's see him fight. Let's see him fight somebody has he beaten a 130-pounder yet?
I don't have his record right in front
well,
of me.
yeah, he had a title at 130 fight, Doctor.
Yeah.
Okay, but he won the title against a guy coming up, right? So my question is, has he beaten a 130-pounder?
Let me think.
Yeah, I've never heard of that guy before.
No, I believe he has, but unfortunately, the last fight he had was against Regendale, who moved up 2 weight classes. So
yeah, before we anoint this guy pound for pound number one, I think we should answer that question first. Like, if he's a 130-pounder, who is he actually beating at 130 pounds? And because do I have BoxRec? I wish I had BoxRec up on my computer, but yeah, I don't even think the guy's even beating 130-pounder. So yeah, if you overlook the Regendale win for a second, who's the best name on the guy's resume? Gary Russell Jr. So
Gary Russell Jr. is pretty good. Russell Jr. is pretty
let's see this guy beat somebody. Let's see this guy beat someone who isn't 39 years old and coming up 2 weight classes. Okay.
Well, his next fight is either going to be against Jorge Linares or Ray Beltran. Either one of those.
Okay.
Two.
What? I like both of those fights.
Yeah, you know what though is that we said Nicholas Walters, that would be a big challenge for him. Clearly wasn't. We said that Guillermo Rigondeaux was going to be a big challenge. Wasn't. That's not his fault. He's fighting the big names. They're coming in the ring.
Can we visit the Walters fight for a second?
Sure.
Honestly, and have maybe some honest dialogue about the Walters fight.
Sure.
Now, all right. So if you look at Walters in his previous fight, he looked like absolute shit. And I want to say, wasn't that fight scored a draw? Or maybe he won by it was a split decision. Whatever it was.
I believe he won a split decision, and I believe that was against Jason Valdez.
Okay, so he won a split decision.
Yeah.
Oh, it was a draw. It was a draw against Jason Sosa.
Yeah.
The draw.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or Jason. So that's it. That's it. Yeah. Okay. I knew I had the name, but I.
But nobody expected him to get dominated like he
decision.
did. That's my point. Nobody expected that fight to go that way.
Okay, stop. All right. Okay, stop. Now, yeah, there are things called, mitigating circumstances, okay? And there's things called context, which we haven't even talked about. Now, let's put this fight in context. Walters was coming off a year-long layoff, and he looked like absolute shit in his previous fight. So, I mean, listen, it was a good win. I would give you that. Yes, it was a good win. But in the grand scheme of things, was it a win that I think promotes him to pound for pound #1 status? No, I don't. Sorry,
But
I just don't.
Was it a good win for somebody, or was it a great win for somebody with just, 8 pro fights at the time?
All right, yeah.
I mean, that's where you got to think about it, too.
With this whole 8 pro fights business, that needs to, listen, the man has had something like 16 pro fights, okay? So let's stop with this.
No, he hasn't. Look at your box rec.
Now, box rec my ass, okay? The man has had, quote unquote, amateur fights.
He's talking about the World Series. You're talking about the World Series of
boxing.
boxing.
Not recorded in box rec. He's amateur. But these
We're
amateur
talking
fights
about We're talking about his professional career, not his amateur career.
Well,
yeah, I'm talking. Listen, the man was getting paid for fights without headgear that they were recorded as "quote unquote" amateur fights. Come on, man.
He's talking about the World. He's talking about the World Series of boxing.
But, professionally.
Yeah, but you know what though is that stuff doesn't count towards your pros. Whether it was or wasn't, that was a way that amateurs were able to make money and keep status in the sport of boxing. So you really cannot count those as professional fights.
Okay, well then, if we're just going to go off of what BoxRec says, okay, then again, I'm asking the question: the 2 or 3 best wins on the man's resume, Gary Russell Jr., Nicholas Walters, and Guillermo Rigondeaux coming up 2 weight classes, is that enough to promote the man to pound for pound #1 status? I don't think so.
Good fighters.
I really don't. Okay, I'm sorry, but no.
Well, let me ask you this.
Then when you factor,
who would he need to fight? If he moves up to 135 and fights Jorge Linares, would you then say, yes, he's a good fighter?
No. Well, yeah, I would say, no, he's already a good fighter. Now, if the question is, if he beats Linares at 135, is he pound for pound #1? The answer to that question is still no.
Okay, no, that's completely valid. I mean, your pound for pound list is your pound for pound list. But is he, again, because a lot of people, we have this all the time where a lot of people say, either Lomo's really good or Lomo sucks. And I don't think that I don't think that he sucks. I mean, so if he goes up and murks Linares with no problem and goes up and takes a 135, I mean, how can we keep saying this guy isn't what he's advertised to be?
And if you remember the last 4 fights he's had, he's made people quit on their stools.
Yeah, that's a tough one, man.
Robbie, please. I mean, come on, man. You guys over there drinking the Kool-Aid, stop. With the Jim Jones Kool-Aid, guys. Give it a rest. Okay? Give it a rest. You all got, come on, man. Look,
Fight Doctor, you're a knowledgeable boxing guy. Yeah. When have you seen a guy make his last 4 opponents quit on their stools?
Just out of frustration. They weren't hurt. Yeah. It was frustration.
Right, listen, let's talk about context, okay? Losses count, gentlemen.
Sure.
And I'm sorry, but a guy who's going to be on my pound-for-pound list does not lose to Orlando Salido.
What was that, second pro fight?
I know it's a tired argument. However.
Second pro fight.
Look,
give me anybody comes into the second pro fight that beats him.
Okay, well then I'll tell you what. If we're going to ignore the Orlando Salido fight.
Not going to ignore it.
Then let's also do the same to the very next fight, which is the Gary Russell win. So let's remove the Orlando Salido loss from the ledger. I'm fine with that.
All right.
But if we're going to do that, then his very next fight, he beats Gary Russell Jr., who is one of his best wins. So let's remove that fight from the ledger also. So then what does that leave us with? It leaves us with the Nicholas Walters win and the Guillermo 2 weight classes Rigondeaux win. Now, between Walters and Rigondeaux, is that enough to be in the pound for pound number one argument?
All right, he's 10-1. All right, I've got his record up now. He's 10-1. He beat Guillermo Rigondeaux, Nicholas Walters, the big names on there. Guillermo Rigondeaux, Nicholas Walters, Roman Martinez. Let's see here. Gary Russell Jr. Yeah. So those are the big names on his resume.
Yeah, you forgot one.
Who?
Orlando Salido. That's a big name.
Right, but he didn't win that fight. And I'll put him in there. Yeah, I mean, that's a big name.
Exactly.
Orlando Salido. Sure.
Okay.
We'll put him in there.
Yeah, but the question was, has he done enough to be pound for pound number one? So if you're counting his highs, then let's count the lows, which was the Orlando Salido loss. I don't understand how that doesn't factor in. I mean, honestly, the Gary Russell Jr. win is the very next fight after the Salido loss. So when we talk about his wins, we talk about what he's done as a fighter. Everyone wants to bring up the Gary Russell Jr. win,
sure,
which is fine. However,
third pro fight.
The excuse is, oh well, the Orlando Salido, that was his second pro fight. Okay, you can't have it both ways.
But back to the original question, Fight Doctor. Since you don't consider him a number one pound per pound fighter, who would he have to fight and beat to convince you that he is?
Oh, Garcia at 135.
So if he beats Mikey Garcia.
Garcia, look, Mikey Garcia is a 4-division champion. Let me repeat. Mikey Garcia has more, there's more merit in putting him on pound for pound number one than there is on Lomachenko. All right, there's more reason to put Mikey Garcia. Mikey Garcia has titles in 4 different weight classes. How many guys can say that? History of boxing. Okay,
Broner.
Undefeated. Well, Garcia is undefeated. If Broner were undefeated, then he'd be in the pound for pound list conversation, I think. But he's not. Man, taking losses. Okay, but at the same time, listen. Beat Garcia at 135. Then at that point, pound for pound number one, I would have no problem. Because you beat somebody.
Unfortunately, I don't see that fight ever happening. I really don't.
Because Garcia mops the floor with Lomachenko. Everyone knows it. Damn sure everyone at Top Rank knows it.
Look, I would like to see the fight happen, but because of the boxing politics the way that it is, I don't see them negotiating, number one.
Yeah, well, that fight would never happen. Yeah, there's no question. But so to answer your question, who would he have to beat to be on the Fight Doctor's top number one pound for pound list? Mikey Garcia. If he beats Garcia, then at that point, I think there's no question.
All right, so that's the fight we got to wait for.
There's nobody else that he could legitimately fight. They would convince you otherwise.
Well, everybody, I mean.
Well, that guy he can fight. Look, if he beat Terrence Crawford at 140.
Yeah, I'm kind of with Fight Doctor on
beat
this.
The guy who's already number one pound for pound. Okay, beat that guy.
Yeah.
Well, Terrence Crawford's moved up. He's not going to go back down.
I'm kind of with Fight Doctor on this because
I'm sure
everybody has their opinion on what somebody needs to do to become the best. So that's Fight Doctor's measuring stick. If he beats Mikey Garcia, then he's he's the guy then. Or at least he's the guy. Okay. At least he makes it in the top 3 or 4 and is, whatever. I mean, he may not, you may still have, I know Fight Doctor has Terrence Crawford as his number one. And, he may not be able to unseat him, and that's fine. But if he goes up there and, beats Mikey Garcia, at least his name's in the conversation then. And that's his measuring stick.
Right. Okay, I see where he's going.
Yeah.
I see where he's going.
Yeah, in my mind, if he beats Garcia, then I think he has a legitimate claim as being pound for pound number one in the world at that point, because you've beaten a solid guy who's proven himself over years, who's undefeated. Mikey Garcia is a 4-weight champion, undefeated 4-weight champion. Okay?
Right.
And I think a legitimate argument can be made for putting Garcia at number one pound for pound, to be completely honest, after last night. Okay, so yeah, beat that guy at 135. And at that point, he goes to the top of my pound for pound list, no question.
There you go.
Right? But that will never happen because, well, for one, Top Rank isn't stupid, and 2, if the fight were to happen, if by some miracle I mean, if the waters of the Red Sea were to part, okay, and a land bridge were to appear where Mikey Garcia and Lomachenko could meet in the middle, Garcia mops the floor with Lomachenko. Period. Point blank. End of story. Okay, that fight will never happen for those two reasons.
All right. Well, hey, we shall see, man.
Well,
Stranger
hey, good
things have
calls
happened.
always, man.
Absolutely, man.
Thank
we
you,
appreciate
gentlemen.
it. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Good job, Fight Doctor. He's always got good calls. You may not agree with everything he says, but he always brings up good points.
But the thing about Fight Doctor, Eric, is you can have a discussion with him. It doesn't turn into a yelling and screaming match. He brings up good points. We can debate it back and forth. That's the way a phone call should be on this show.
There you go. All right, let's talk about the upcoming fights here. March 16th. Robert, is that a Thursday or a Friday?
That's a Friday, brother.
All right, Friday on Estrella TV, your favorite station. Ceniesa Estrada versus Sonia Osorio, 8 rounds, female flyweights. On the undercard, Oscar Duarte versus Jorge Rodriguez, 8 rounds, lightweights. Can't wait to not watch that card. Let's see here. On Telemundo, Daniel Lozano versus Mike Plania, 10 rounds, bantamweights. And the 17th, which is a Saturday, on ESPN, the big one from New York, Jose Ramirez versus Amir Imam, 12 rounds for the vacant WBC junior welterweight title. Also on the undercard, Michael Conlon versus David Berna, 8 rounds featherweights. And Alexander Gavotstik versus Mehdi Amar, 12 rounds for the vacant WBC interim light heavyweight title. For the interim light heavyweight title, who's normally the whose belt is that? The interim.
That's Adonis Stevenson. So this sets up the next mandatory for whoever wins between Badu Jack and
but why
Adonis
have an
Stevenson?
interim belt? I mean, really, that doesn't make any sense. The undercard's still on here. Felix Verdejo versus Antonio Lozada, 10 rounds lightweights. And Jose Pedraza also making a return there versus Jose Luis Rodriguez, 8 rounds lightweights. Now, I don't know if all those will be shown, but I think the first 3 will be shown.
And the rest of them will be on the ESPN app.
Okay, perfect. And then Jose Ramirez versus Amir Imam should be a decent fight. And Conlon versus Berna. Conlon, anytime he fights, it's kind of must-see TV. You got to watch that guy. It's going to be on St. Patty's Day or St. Patty's weekend, whatever it is. And then Gavotstik.
Yeah,
versus,
it'll be on the day, man.
Yeah, Gavotstik versus Amar, 12 rounds. I think that should be a squash match. So I think the Verdejo fight should be a squash. And Pedraza the same way. Pedraza coming back at 8 rounds. How about that? So there you go. Let's see here. Anything else? Integrated Sports PPV pay-per-view. Danny O'Connor versus Steve Claggett, 10 rounds junior welterweights. This is on Integrated Sports pay-per-view. Nobody's buying that. Let's see what else is there. I think that might be it. From Kobe, Japan on March 18th.
And the winner of the Iman Ramirez fight, Regis Prograis, will be the mandatory.
Ryuya Yamanaka versus Moises Calleros, 12 rounds for Yamanaka's WBO strawweight title. And Raya Konishi versus Carlos Canizales, 12 rounds for the WBA regular junior flyweight title. And that'll be from Japan. You could probably not stream it somewhere, probably catch it on YouTube somewhere or something like that. So, and that is your fights for next week. There it is. All right. So now let's go to our news and rumors section. We've already addressed the big elephant in the room, and that is Canelo testing positive for clenbuterol. So, yeah, what do you say about that? I think we've already talked about that. So now, this is different news here. Manny Pacquiao versus Lucas Matisse set for June 24th? Maybe. Pacquiao and his team are sorting out the details for his next fight. Pacquiao and his team are targeting Lucas Matisse for a June 24th bout in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. Mav Gonzalez of GMA News in the Philippines broke the story. The fight will be for the WBA welterweight championship. However, Bob Arum is not so sure. He has come out and said the fight with Matisse is not set, and that if Jose Ramirez wins against Imam, he will be the one that is going to fight Manny Pacquiao. Robert, What's going on with your boy Arum here? What's going on here? Pacquiao, this always seems to happen.
Look,
always seems to happen, right?
Well, I'll tell you exactly what's happening with Manny here. First,
60 seconds.
Tried to schedule a fight with Alvarado in April. They wanted that to be in New York. He threw a fit about that. He wanted it in Vegas because in Nevada they don't take the taxes. Well, okay, they agreed to do that. Then the IRS spoke up and said, "Well, Mr. Pacquiao, you owe us back taxes." So Pacquiao has decided, no, he's not going to fight Alvarado, and he's no longer going to fight in the United States because he doesn't want to pay the IRS taxes. So this is why he's trying to set up the Lucas Matisse fight, which frankly is a better fight than the Alvarado fight. But Arum is his promoter, and it sounds like to me Pacquiao's trying to set up his own fight.
10 seconds.
Or without Bob being involved. Maybe he's going to try to get out of this contract because he doesn't want to deal with the IRS. That's what I've read. So, but I don't know what's true and what isn't.
And I'm not a tax guy by any stretch of the imagination. I don't know a whole lot about taxes and everything like that. But wouldn't he have to pay taxes anyway because he has a residence here?
I don't know if he lives here at all. I don't know if he owns any property here.
I thought he had some property in LA. I thought he had a house in LA. Maybe he's just renting it. I don't know. But yeah, I would think that if he bought the house, which I don't know if he did or not, that you would have to pay taxes, that you would have to pay any kind of income. If you're in the US and you're living here, any income coming in can be taxed. I don't know how he's.
And well, apparently, Eric, he hasn't paid taxes for years.
Wow. He's going to go to the pokey, son. I don't know, man. That's
I'm not sure if he owns that house or not. That's the thing.
Yeah, that could be the caveat there, is that it's in somebody else's name, or I mean, who knows? Who knows?
Yeah. But those are the things I've heard of as why the Alvarado fight first got moved and now got canceled, and this is why he's trying to set up a fight in where it is. And frankly, from a fight fan's perspective, if you're going to see a Pacquiao fight, you'd much rather see Lucas Matisse than Mike Alvarado.
Well, I'd rather see Lucas Matisse over.
I don't know if any of this is going to come off the ground because of his legal status and him not wanting to pay his taxes.
Well, I'd rather see him and Matisse versus him and Ramirez too. That's a horrible fight too.
And also too.
Look, I like Jose. I like Jose. Jose's a good fighter, and I think he's going to win next week. I think he's going to beat him, but I don't think he's got a snowball's chance in hell against Pacquiao. Because what is Pacquiao going to go down to 140 to fight him? I guess.
Also too, there's rumors that Pacquiao's trying to break free of Arum, and he's also trying to claim that Jeff Horn fight was the last fight on the contract. Arum says, I believe there's one or two more. So there's this whole drama with Pacquiao and Arum going on. So
he should
just and then also too, I guess he's questioning whether he's going to be with Freddie Roach again too. So he's not happy with the way Freddie Roach didn't protest in the Horn fight when things were getting rough for him. And that's sour grapes too, because in boxing, when a guy hits you low, you hit him low back. You gotta defend yourself in this sport, and you can't always rely on the referee to take care of you. You can't blame your corner. You gotta, sometimes you gotta get down and dirty. When the fight gets rough, you gotta get rough. It's just the way it is. And he's never done that over the years.
Yeah. Cry baby. I mean, you can't blame Freddie Roach for that loss.
No, not at all.
Hey, listen, man, you're slowing down. That's face facts.
I mean, I thought Manny won the fight, but the judges decided otherwise. So.
Yeah. What are you gonna do? All right. So this next one. That's right. Adrian Broner has a new opponent. Omar Figueroa has reportedly suffered a shoulder injury and is out against Adrian Broner for April 21st. Jesse Vargas is now the new challenger. So I tell you what, that's not a gimme fight. That is not a gimme fight at all. Beeb, you're taking Jesse Vargas in this fight, aren't you?
Absolutely, yeah. I think it's a tougher fight for him.
I think so too, man. And Omar Figueroa was a tough fight. Jesse Vargas, anxious to see what he's got left. And if he's got a lot left, man, Bonner could be this is a tough fight. This is no gimme, man. So he better come in shape and ready to go, man, because that's going to be a tough fight. That's a good fight.
Jesse Vargas can fight, man.
Yeah, he sure can. And I'll tell you what, man, there's a pretty stacked undercard here as well. Jamal Chawler will face Hugo Centeno, and Gervonta Davis will face Jesus Cuellar. So you're going to see like 3 pretty big stars on, actually 4 pretty big stars on there if you count Vargas. Good card on April 21st, man. Good card. And also, too, this just announced, I mean, we knew it was going to happen, but this just announced, Arislandi Lara versus Jarrett Hurd set for April 7th. The fight will take place in Las Vegas and be televised on Showtime. The undercard will feature Caleb Truax versus James DeGale in a rematch. There you go. PBC, man, I tell you what, we everybody bashes PBC. We always bash the promoters when they put on lousy fights, but hey, I don't know what HBO is doing, man, but yeah.
Right now, Showtime is knocking it the hell out of the ballpark and not even close.
I tell you what, and you say like Quigg, the Quigg fight, the Quigg and was it Valdez? Quigg and Valdez.
Yeah, last night.
Yeah, that was the fight. I think that was the fight of the weekend. That was a really top fight. But the undercard, I had no interest in watching. You know what I mean? I had no interest in watching. Whereas the other ones, like the PBC, like these, we'll watch all of them. They've got good guys on there. Yeah. I watched the Rances Barthelemy and Relikh fight,
and even the undercard fights on Show Extreme. I wish Showtime would do that more often.
Yeah, I do too.
It's the first time they've used Show Extreme all year.
Yeah,
they did it. They used it a lot last year, but they haven't done it that much this year.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I think consistently. I think I don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, would you rather the fights on HBO are good? They're good fights, but consistently we're getting good fights on Showtime more often. So.
No, Showtime is just blowing HBO out of the water. Right now, what we have is 3 universes in boxing. We got the Showtime universe, we've got the HBO universe, and we've got the ESPN universe. And if you got to be honest about it, Showtime is number 1 because of the schedule of fights they're putting on. ESPN is number 2, and HBO is in last place. Yeah. They're sinking because they're not scheduling fights. I don't know what's going on over there, but I wish
what's going on with HBO.
I don't know. But I tell you what, I cannot stand the broadcast team at ESPN. They got to get rid of Kriegel and they got to get rid of Tim Bradley. They both suck. They're terrible to listen to.
Well, I felt bad for Joe Tessitore last night because my God, he had no voice. He finally had to tell Bernardo Suno, "Hey, I can't do this. You got to take over." Yeah,
I tell you what. Yeah, the announce team over there is just horrible. Ever since they got rid of Atlas, whole thing goes downhill.
Yeah, he's doing some.
They had
smokers in Okefenokee. I heard.
What's that? He's doing
some smokers commentary on some smokers in Okefenokee.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, I'd rather listen to that than listen to Kriegel talk. I'll tell you that. Guy's dry. On that note, that'll do it. On the disrespect of Teddy Atlas from Beeb. That'll do it for this edition of Ringside Reporter. As always, you can catch Robert on Twitter at Ringside Robert, or you can call Robert Reporter at 917-259-1810. Leave him a message. You can catch Joe Habib on Twitter at jhabib1. Find his YouTube channel at beatingtheoddswithbeeb.com. I'm at Ringside 73, and we'll see you next week.